Welcome to a very special edition of 805 Sports Talk. You may notice we aren't in the studio. We are on location at St. Joseph High School. This has been our 2018 Media Day here. We've had about a dozen area high school teams come out. We did I don't know how many interviews, a bunch of photos, talked to everybody. Everybody got some food, and we really learned a lot about the upcoming high school football season, and we're going to break all that stuff down, talk about some highlights, talk about some things that we're really excited for. But we do want to take a minute to thank everybody for making this happen. All the coaches from the area who take the time to come down here, let us take their pictures and interview the players and all that good stuff. So we couldn't do it without the coaches, the players. Parents are even helping out, and of course our sponsors who've done a great job. Chick-fil-A was extremely gracious catering our event, so we appreciate that. The new location in Santa Maria, Coca-Cola donated drinks, all that stuff. Hancock has been really instrumental in allowing us to put this event on. We've hosted it 4 times now, and every year it's been at St. Joseph High School, so we appreciate everybody at St. Joseph High School, especially Coach Pepe Villasenor. You know, he's starting his head coaching career here, and he allowed us to come by, talk to all his players, and spend a few hours out on his football field. So we appreciate everybody who's really helped us put this together for the 4th year in a row now. It's been a lot of fun, and we're less than 3 weeks away from the high school football season. So we're really excited about that, and we're going to get into some of the stuff we learned today, some of the big trends that we see happening. Obviously, the big story is I think 7 of our teams are moving to the Central section. The league formats are all different, so we're going to get into all that stuff. And Lorenzo, I'll start with you. What were some of the big takeaways that you saw today? Talked to a lot of Lompoc players, Cabrillo players. Caleb Thomas was here. The Pac-5 MVP from a year ago. What were some of the things that you took away from today?
In talking to Cabrillo and Rigetti, on Cabrillo's end, it's the second year of the AJ Pateras regime, and I just get the notion that these guys are less skeptic heading into this year, because we've seen it before where when a new guy comes in, let alone a guy who's maybe not familiar with the school, unfortunately there's going to be a lot of growing pains, and you kind of got that anticipation that it was going to happen that way. But in talking to Jackson Anderson, Jordan Green, Patrick Durham, and even talking to Pateras himself, these guys seem to be on the same boat. They talked about the weight room changes that they made, the approach in practices. Pateras, even amidst that, he had to switch his approach toward his own players, and he mentioned those things when I talked to him. As far as Caleb Thomas is concerned, he has the 4 offers on the table right now. He still hasn't decided when he wants to make his announcement, but he's actually gunning for the Pac-12. He's shooting for the stars now. He says that Cal and Stanford have actually started to ask for his grades and transcripts, so we'll see what materializes over there. But he's also excited about the upcoming Central Section slate. And then also talking to Avery Von Dern, he also mentioned the fact that they saw a lot of Central Section teams over the summer. And I like how Von Dern describes some of the Central Section athletes. They're speedy, but they're technicians. And that was some of the things that I saw during my time of covering the Central Section. So those are probably my big takeaways on this day.
Yeah, this is one of those days where everyone's really excited, everybody's really hopeful, and I think we definitely sense that, a lot of energy. We do have some new coaching staffs here, some new people, so I did sense that, a lot of energy, a lot of people are excited, and they are kind of looking at that move to the Central section. I think it is a different brand of football, so yeah, I think that was a big theme of the day. Kenny, moving to you, you're jotting down your notes like you do. Was there something that kind of you want to highlight that you were kind of surprised to hear, just a little tidbit that you're kind of interested in?
Yes, I would say for starters, Napomo has more coming back than my first impression was that they have coming back. They have a lot of skilled people coming back and some quality linemen. I think that program and Rigetti are at least as much as any on the rise this year in the area. Also, Central Section seemed to be, the people that I talked to seemed to be generally favorable towards the move. Now, John Ruiz, Pioneer Valley's coach, was not here today, but I talked to him yesterday. He's all in with it. He said that less travel time, less time. His guys have to miss school if they go there for, if they go out of section for a non-league or a playoff game. Tony Dodge acknowledged that at first he did not like the move. He liked the competitive situation in the southern section. But now I think he figures that it is what it is, and they'll deal with it, and they'll see what comes.
And I think another thing too, in talking to Tony on camera, is that he's accepted the fact that his guys are where they are in Division II, but he really likes the attitude of his guys. He truly believes that Napoma's going to be competitive. They're going to be just fine in Division II now. In my recent column, I predicted that Napoma was going to eventually be the odd team out, because I don't like a school that's less than 1,000 going against a Tulare Union, Dinuba, those big schools down in Tulare and Visalia. But Tony really handled it very well in saying how we're really there to compete. I think our guys are going to be just fine. They also saw a lot of Central Section teams during the summer as well, during 7-on-7. So, and he said that his guys competed very, very well. They came out of it with a lot of good vibes from it. So,
yeah, Tony said he did not like the way some of the schools were placed in the Central Section, but now he figures it is what it is. They'll deal with it.
Yeah, I don't think any of the schools are really overly pleased with where they have been placed in those divisions. They had to fill those higher divisions. With St. Joseph being in Division I, I don't think any of us think they're quite there as a Division I team yet. I think Napomo's hesitation about the Central Section move is a little bit surprising, because I think they do fit, demographically, geographically. They're kind of out there, on the bottom of the county, kind of out on their own. I think it kind of fits in with the rural kind of areas, schools that you do see in the Central Section. So I think it will take some time for them to adapt to that, but I think they do fit in well to the Central Section style of play there. So I think Division II isn't where they should be, but I could see them a year or two down the road really finding their groove there in the Central Section. I think that's going to be true for a lot of those San Luis Obispo County schools. I can see them kind of finding their place there in Central Section play.
Coming at it from a slightly different direction. I talked to Josh McClurg. Now he'll be starting his 7th year at San Ynez High School. San Ynez, Lompoc, Cabrillo are staying in the Southern Section, and they're going to be playing in the Channel League, and I'll talk about that later. But we were talking about, he opens the season with Napoma. And he said nothing but great things about Tony Dodge. Now, we know Tony Dodge has proven himself to be an excellent coach. He says Napoma is loaded, and his word to me, or 2 words, was they're going to be a huge beast. He thinks that it's going to be an awesome challenge to open the season at Napoma, but he thinks they're going to stack up maybe better than any of the other teams initially going over into the Central Section. So Tony Dodge may be downplaying it a little bit. He may not have liked the move a whole lot, but if you sell it, keep the expectations low to the media, and you exceed that, you guys are heroes. But I'm sure, knowing him as well as I do over the years, he's not having that kind of attitude towards the kids. He expects them to go out and play hard and try to win every week, but his week 0 opponent has the utmost respect for him and said to me, they're going to be a beast.
I think they have the expectation themselves that they're going to hit the ground running this year.
Tony always has those kids ready, He just, I don't know, he gives you this, but then when he's just off the record, we're going to be all right.
Yeah, but we had Andrew Jones here, we had McClurg, we've had Dan Ellington here as well, and we often talk about the jobs that those guys have done with really changing the programs, especially from the misfortunes that they had in the past. I mean, granted, I know Tony Dodge came into a situation in Napoma where he was taking over for Russ Edwards, and I mean, Napoma was already in that echelon, but I mean, I think we also have to acknowledge the job that Dodge continues to do. Considering the numbers that he has year in, year out, he really knows how to prepare his guys, especially in the right games. He knows how to get his guys prepared for Santa Maria, for a Pioneer Valley, or teams in their league. So, I mean, I think there's that depth right there.
Yeah, I think both San Ynez and Napoma are going to be playoff teams once everything's said and done. They've had some really, tight games the last couple of years. They've played each other, I think every year since I can remember, and they've had some close games. They've had some tight games. So I think expectations for both of those teams should be really high. And I think McClurg on his own should be really happy for the season. I know they moved up to Division 7 from Division 10, even though they weren't able to make the Division 10 playoffs the last couple of years. But I mean, in that Channel League, I think St. Ignace could be the second best team in that league. I think they will make the playoffs this year. And, you know, if they were in Division 10, I think they could be one of the favorites in that division. But they are going to be in Division 7 this year. That's going to be tough, but I think McClurg has a lot of excitement.
No St. Joseph for them to deal with this year.
No St. Joseph, that was kind of their
might
bugaboo the last few years. I mean, they played Lompoc really tight last year, and I know some of the St. Inez guys, talking to Cash Trenzith, he's looking forward to that Lompoc game. I think that could be a fun game again this year.
That could be the league championship right there. But I don't think Josh is thrilled at all about the jump 3 divisions up to 7. And he points out quite accurately that in the last 3 years, we all have said that they've had a great record, but Lompoc and St. Joe have kept them out of the playoffs. And he said, you know, just a play here, a play there, we were so close to being able to beat one or both of those guys over the last 3 years. But because they were in a 5-team league, only the top 2 teams were guaranteed a spot in the playoffs, and the number 3 team had to sweat it out if somebody needed to fill a wild card spot, which they don't. So you're pretty much guaranteed not to make the playoffs. Now it's a 6-team league, and he, by the way, says they're not going to the Channel League. It's the new Channel League. He wants new before Channel because it's also the old Los Padres League, because 3 of the 6 teams are the old LPL teams, the Lompoc, Cabrillo, and St. Inez. And Josh's kids have played one or the other of those Channel League teams. The last 3 years they played one of them. The 4 years before that they played another. So, you know, they think that they can compare favorably with Santa Barbara, Dos Pueblos, San Marcos. So they're looking forward to the year. And their lives are disrupted a little bit because all their other teams up here in Santa Maria and San Luis Obispo counties are going east. But really for them, a lot of their preseason games now become regular season games. Their preseason games, they'll still play guys like the Pomos, so they'll still be some of their familiar squads, just in a different setting. So they're looking forward to it, and but everybody's 0-0. Everybody is excited for the season. I talked to coaches like McClurg that have been around a long time, and Tony Payne, who's been around a long time, but he's Righetti's first-year head coach, and they're all excited. But there's going to be so much, and this is one of the great things about high school sports and all the different sports. There's so much that's going to be new. Kids graduate, freshmen become sophomores and move up to the JV, or some sophomores that were JV now move into the varsity. But you've got new coaches. We've got a new coach at Righetti. We got a new head coach at Orchid Academy. We've got guys like AJ Pateras now that are in their second year, so they can move their programs forward. We got guys like Dan Ellington that have resurrected programs, but now he got clobbered by graduation, but he still thinks he's got a lot of talent there, and that his team will compete favorably in the preseason and the regular season, and they're just ready to get next Monday's when they can start putting the pads on. They're ready to start hitting, putting in their offenses, the real offenses when they're in pads and they play against the defense, and go.
Every year around this time, I get energized about the upcoming season, but I just feel like there's more energy because you mentioned it, everything's brand new now. I mean, there's no more Los Padres League, there's no more Northern League, you got a revamped Channel League, you got the new Ocean and Mountain League, you got teams going into the Central section, and then we have some of our teams still in the Southern section. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a lot of movers and shakers, but I mean, it just adds to the more excitement for this upcoming year.
Logistically, it's going to be interesting for us having to cover southern section schools and central section schools, but it's just like the coaches and athletic directors who have to make all these things work. We'll make it work. We always do, but it'll be a different challenge for us too.
Yeah, I think something we haven't talked about too much is Lompoc and Andrew Jones. He did talk about they're losing about 90% of their production.
Right.
Quarterback Xavier Nix, Toatawa obviously gone, Shamar Savage gone, and he talked about that. People probably think that this might be the year we're going to slip up. This might be the year that Lompoc kind of falls back to the crowd a little bit. That's what people are saying. He's kind of motivated by that. He's like motivated by that. He's kind of hearing that a little bit, and he wants to prove people wrong. They lose a lot. Like Lompoc usually has shown that they can reload with Andrew Jones. It's been no problem, but this might be the one year where they lose, you know, just about every major piece that they had last year. But looking at them, that they were out here today, Leandre Coleman's here. You know, he looks good. Ryan Morgan, I think, is going to be a key contributor. I think Lompoc isn't going to, you know, slip up at all. But, you know, they are kind of listening. There's people saying that this might be the one year that Lompoc kind of slips back to the pack a little bit.
Andrew did mention this, that he feels like that there's more camaraderie with this group compared to some of the previous years. And it says a lot because, I mean, we've seen how talented some of those graduating classes were. And another thing, too, TJ Jordan and Dustin Davis are on the coaching staff.
Right.
And that takes so much pressure off of Andrew Jones because he no longer has to worry about constantly calling the plays. I mean, TJ Jordan now has the say with the air attack. Dustin Davis can call the defense. So I think those two right there are probably the big acquisitions for Lompoc.
Well, one of the coaches didn't want to be quoted, but I was talking to several coaches today, and one of them says that that coaching staff is a super team. And you know, you look at
Warriors.
you look at the kids that are coming back, like Rigetti's Giddings as quarterback has got some experience, so that's always important because other teams have lost their quarterbacks. San Ynez lost his quarterback to graduation, so that's your team leader. But don't underestimate the importance of the assistant coaches. And it has been mentioned that they put together a super team of coaches. So, and they have. Those are really good guys. Dustin Davis has been a head coach before, but TJ Jordan has been a highly successful assistant coach and a quarterback in his own right from when he was in high school. So these guys have got a lot of experience, and even though there may be more turnover than you expect or you'd normally, that turnover may hurt Lompoc a little more than normally, he's got the guys that can teach and bring these kids along really quickly.
And I think another reason why there might be people out there who are writing off Lompoc is the schedule the Braves are going to be playing this season. But Simi Valley, even though they're bringing in Jim Binkert, it's still a team that we're still trying to figure out. I mean, they seem unsettled on who their quarterback's going to be. They don't have the guys that Binkert used to coach, guys like Kayvon Thibodeau, the Calvert brothers, Zach Charbonnet. I mean, they're starting brand new over down in Simi Valley. Mm-hmm. You got a Bishop Diego team that, granted, defending state champion, but they had a lot of turnover as well. I mean, John Harris is one of the guys who graduated from that Bishop Diego football team. And Dos Pueblos, I mean, they lost a lot, and they also lost Nate Mendoza, who's now in the administrative staff at Dos Pueblos. Now they're bringing back Doug Keynes, who used to be at Santa Barbara High. So, I mean, there's still that part of me that doesn't want to write off Lompoc.
After Andrew Jones's first couple of years, it seemed to me that people have always said this could be the year Lompoc comes back to the crowd, and it never happens. I think some of that might be wishful thinking. Although they did come back to San Ynez gave them all they wanted.
I think that staff just really helps solidify Lompoc and also helps solidify the case that I don't think this team's going to digress.
I do not either. I do not.
Yeah, and Jones talked about that schedule, you know, with Bishop Diego, with Simi Valley. He was like, we've been trying to play these teams and build up the schedule like this, but it just hasn't worked out for one reason or another. So he was happy to have those teams on his schedule. He mentioned Jim Binkert. You know, him being at Simi Valley was a big reason why that game happened. Banker's not going to back down from anybody with the experience that he has and all that. So he was really happy to have that matchup. He was grateful to finally get Bishop Diego on that schedule. So Jones was pumped for that schedule that they have this year.
I also want to mention on Cabrillo's side, I mean, AJ Pateras went that route as well, because the teams that he filled for the non-league slate, they're former Channel League teams. I mean, Buena was a former Channel League team, and he has that familiarity with Buena as a Ventura Cougar. You have Rio Mesa, which is a power in that area as well. And then also they start the year against Bishop Diego. So one of the reasons why Pateras went with the Ventura Santa Barbara gauntlet is to help prepare for the Channel League.
Yeah, and I want to take a moment to talk about Santa Maria a little bit. Dan Ellington he's kind of pumped for the season. They were decimated by graduation. We talked about it, but he says there's a tangible effect from that playoff run they had last year, playing in the Division 12 championship game at home last year. He said, some of these kids that may not have gone to Santa Maria before, they're showing up to Santa Maria now as freshmen, and there's going to be some sustained, tangible effects from that playoff run. So I think maybe Santa Maria might, be the middle of the pack team this year, but I think over time they're going to really develop into a consistent program. I think that's how Dan Ellington feels, and I think he's right that they are going to find some lasting effects from that playoff run.
He thinks he's got some talent coming back and a couple of kids moving up, and he says they're going to be fine. And I have to believe him because he's shown that he knows what he's doing, and he's done it. And years ago, and Kenny and I, we've all been here a long time now, but Kenny and I seemingly have been here forever. One of the things we would always say to each other is after Jim Doyle went over to Pioneer Valley, they didn't have any consistency in that head coach or their staff. And if they could just get somebody that cared about the school and would stick around for a while, then they could probably build a program. And Ellington has done that. He teaches over there. So after he was at Pioneer Valley as a head coach and the opening came up at Santa Maria, he thought, well, why not just go to where I'm teaching? I can stay on campus. He relates with the kids, interacts with the kids, even the football players every day when he wasn't their coach. So this way he could just be there all the time. And he's really instilled a culture. And Ellington was here at Rigetti High School. He was at Pioneer Valley High School. He was at Rigetti with Greg Dickinson, which was a powerful program when Dickinson ran it. He went over to Pioneer Valley with Dickinson, so he was an apprentice to a really good head coach, and he learned from some of the best. And he's taken a lot of that with him over to Santa Maria. So yeah, he got clobbered by maybe more than any of the other schools. He got hit hardest, I think, by the graduation, but he seems to have the kids ready for it, and I think they might surprise us again.
I think being a regular teacher at the school that you're coaching at helps any coach, because even if you're not working with your athletes, you're teaching students, you're teaching people in that age group, you're interacting with them, you're learning the teaching methods with them. And Dan Ellington, I think, told Joe and Elliot that he's learned from teaching in the classroom when he's coaching his players. He knows when he needs to change his approach from when he's teaching in the classroom, and he carries that over to coaching his football team.
Well, and think about this too. This, I think, goes along with all that. When he's at work, even if the kids aren't in his classroom, they see him, and he's in the hallways, and it's not Mr. Ellington, it's Coach. And everybody calls him Coach, and it makes him feel good because he's Coach, and it makes them feel good because he's in their hallways. Yeah. So he's one of them. We've got the new head coach at Orchid Academy, Ben Albury. He's one of them. He's a teacher at Orchid Academy. He's been on that staff for a couple of years. Tony Payne, the new head coach at Rigetti. He's one of them. He's a Rigetti graduate, and he's a Rigetti math teacher, as is their baseball golf coach, Brian Tamuka.
Just being there helps a lot when it comes to coaching a team.
So, but the kids see him in the hallway, it's Coach, and even the non-football kids see him, and it helps with this, build the team spirit and the school spirit, and you get the backing. So I think that's a benefit for those schools.
All right, that's all we got for this week's show, but stay tuned to SantaMariaTimes.com, LompocRecord.com, our YouTube channel. We're going to be posting, dozens of videos, interviews with all these players, coaches. We just kind of touch on everything now, but we'll have stories online before the season starts, and our special section preview comes out Sunday, August 12th in the Santa Maria Times and Lompoc Record in print. So we'll have all these photos, interviews, stories. You can see the projected starters for all these teams, top newcomers, top returners. We'll have all the schedules, some really good content on all our area teams, so be sure to check that out online and in print. Of course, all these videos that we've been doing, and you have the most in-depth coverage of high school football, college football in the area. So thank you guys for watching. Once again, we want to thank everybody who kind of helped us put this together. We're here at St. Joseph High School once again. Chick-fil-A, huge shout out to them, helping us feed all these hungry football players that came out here. Coca-Cola, it's a hot day. We had some drinks, waters from them. We appreciate that. Hancock College has been instrumental in all this, so we appreciate all them. I want to thank Cynthia Schur, our publisher, who helped make sure we put this event on each year. Got to shout out Braxton Carroll and Jason Anderson, the two guys behind the scenes. You guys don't see them on camera, but they have been huge helps in making sure that we put this together every year. So we appreciate them. We hope all our viewers appreciate those guys as well. So we'll be talking football, for the next couple weeks, and then August 17th is when things really kick off. So be on the lookout for our special section preview on August 12th and all the stories and videos that will be coming out in a couple weeks before the season starts. Thank you guys for watching 805 Sports Talk.